Okay, which of the following best accounts for the typical survey practices among market researchers? Which of the following true best accounts for the typical survey practices among market researchers? Okay, survey practices. I'm trying to identify new technologies that promise to trans. Okay, okay, so venture capitalists, you can say. So managers. Okay, so look into the managers. Such managers have been more mistake in succeeding, so they invariably. Okay, so they oversell. How does that help me though, as a market researcher? Not survey, even though it is the. They don't look at the buyer of the eventual technology, who will ultimately determine if it. So they look at the buyer. Sorry, they look at the manager, or you can say the manager. Look at the company's managers. It's because they have a enormous stake in succeeding, so they invariably overstate the potential of the new technologies. I'm not sure how does that help. Okay, anyway, so let's just see. So not buyer. So manager, not buyer. Why? Producer. Maybe a. Maybe, but I don't know how it deals with overselling. I'm not sure how it deals with overselling. That's the issue. People who promote the virtues of any typically fail to consider that the old technology. Okay, B doesn't explain it. Investors, it doesn't explain anything about buyers. It doesn't explain anything about overselling of the manager. I'm looking for something that explains both. Investors are unlikely to invest substantial amount of capital in a company whose managers are skeptical about the commercial prospects. I think maybe C actually. Yeah, I think maybe C because if the manager himself is not overselling, then why should any buyer or this is called investor, potential buyer, that why should any investment care about it? The potential. D doesn't make sense. It can seldom be relevant, but it can be sometimes. And in those sometimes, why in those sometimes as well? The word seldom is too wishy-washy. What is it? For 59, what is it 99% of the time or is it 51% of the time? The developers of new technology are generally no better position than its potential buyers to gauge how rapidly the new technology can be efficiently mass produced. So in this case, this weakens because this makes it even stranger. So why even look at managers then? I guess the developers, I guess. So I would personally go with C because really because of POE at this point. But just a repetition, if a new technology succeeds, they largely accrue to the producers, not the buyers. That may be true, but what does overselling of the technology have to do with it then? What does this have to do with it then? With B, people who promote the virtue typically fail to consider the old technology that is currently in use. Continue. So this actually makes it weirder. Then why look at managers to begin with when it comes to option B? Option C, investors are unlikely to invest substantial amounts in a company. Yeah, this makes sense because it killing two birds with one stone. You're looking at the investor or the manager. You don't really care about the buyer, because the buyer does not know anything about the technology. Investors are unlikely to invest substantial amounts of capital in a company whose managers are skeptical about the commercial prospects of. Yeah, this makes sense as to why you're looking at the manager, not the buyer. D, the potential buyers are not real. Seldom is too wishy-washy. E, the developers of new technology are generally no better position than its potential. So why look at even the developers or the managers? If nobody's positioned better, so why bother any of them? Why bother even looking at any group of within the two? So my answer is C.